This is Pastor Ken, and I'll be right with you. So I've been trying to talk to you about what it was like to minister in the midst of the medical scare that occurred across our country. And I'd like to go away from the actual contact of individuals and hospitals and nursing homes to the internal in terms of a church. Now, when this first broke loose, this fear-mongering in the nation, fear hit the leaders of our church that I was serving. And they were under the impression that they had to close the church down. Thank God, at least they realized that we needed to have a meeting. So we had a meeting, and I wanted every leader to discuss whether he or she would vote in favor to close the church or in favor to remain open. And we sat around a table, and I allowed for each leader to speak his or her piece. Now, what was coming forth was basically the unanimity to close the church down because of the fear that was raging in our land. The fear that people would somehow make contact with each other, catch something, and then die. So I kept quiet because I wanted the decision to be completely, totally what the church board wanted to do and not necessarily me. Now, I was open to the possibility of closing down for the sake of unity in the church, for the sake of people, quote, feeling safe and all of that. But inside my heart, no. Now, reminding you, I wasn't going to say one word about whether I believe we should stay open or close. And so we're just about ready to wrap the meeting up, and obviously the decision was going to be we close down. And one of our key leaders looked at me and said, "What do you think, Pastor?" And I said, "I prefer not to say anything at all." Well, now I'm exaggerating a little bit here. I could see smoke and fire coming out of his head in anger and said, "Well, you're our pastor and you're our leader and we hired you to be our leader. What do you think?" So I looked at him and I looked at the others and I said, "Are you sure you want me to speak?" "Yes." I said, "All right. No, we should not close this door. And one of the reasons is that you need to know is propaganda is legal in the United States." I even cited the text from the NDAA where it could be found that truth does not have to be broadcast on any subject, on any station, for any reason. And so I said, if we do close down, the reason we close down is because this governing board says we close down. So I talked a little bit also about the idea that the outside state cannot tell the church what to do. The state outside might have jurisdiction and be able to have authority over, but once you get to that circle called the church, the state is not to interfere. Now, many were under the impression that if someone in the county or the state said you have to shut down, that we had to be obliging to it. No. So I said, if we shut down because you, the board of this church, says we shut down. No outside source. Well, the conclusion was that what I said didn't make a difference at all. And the vote was taken, and the vote was to, in the majority, to close the church down. And so our church closed down for approximately, I believe, 6 weeks. Also, I kind of cried out inside during our discussions like, well, this is the time a church needs to be open. And people were hurting and people were afraid. But that didn't do anything either to persuade the leaders. Now, this is not an indictment on the leaders. This is not an attempt to in some way say that I was superior, they were inferior. No, not at all. This is just simply to tell you the internal workings of things that were happening during this medical scare. And should they ever happen again, I hope you as a pastor, or you as a leader, or you as a church member will know that the outside government has no authority to shut you down. Now, of course, that can change and does change in societies that adopt socialism and then leading to communism. That does change. But for right now, hopefully, there's no outside authority that can tell a church, shut down. So, I just wanted to share this with you so that you can get some idea of some of the inner workings of things that took place during the medical emergency, that medical scare that took place in our land a few years ago. I'd like to thank you for watching.